A few years ago, I used to talk about some Disney Plus content within this channel. Mainly stuff that's on the what's coming to the servers in UK and Ireland. But there was one thing I made related to Disney Plus that I feel like was kind of important. Something that initially, when the thing came out, not many people were talking about, that I decided to make a video talking about it, and back then when my channel was, obviously back in 2020, the subscriber count was different, but back when it was a little bit smaller compared to where it is now, it did got some decent amount of traction because that would be the introduction of Star. Star essentially acted like Hulu, but in a different branding name, as it bring in a lot of the adult content within Disney over the years into Disney Plus for the first time, including all the 20th Century Fox content, ABC, FX, 20th television animation, and basically all the adult content Disney has made since, I want to say, the 80s, maybe the 70s. At least, both, and also including the Fox stuff as well. So essentially just covering that. And by the way, I'm not doing a script, by the way, so if I improv all this stuff, it's all improv here. So any points I stop talking and weird stuff happens, it is how it is. Over the years, Star essentially helped Disney Plus become more than just a kid-friendly brand. Or at least, now it gives adults a reason why to get Disney Plus that isn't for families or just for the kids to watch, Mickey Mouse and all the other Disney stuff over the years. But now, almost 5 years later, Star is about to essentially close its doors, I guess. It's kind of a weird thing because for international regions, Star, like I said, was the adult brand for Disney Plus. And in the US, for a few years, Disney Plus couldn't get that. They couldn't get an adult brand because of Hulu. Now that we're in 2025, and well, soon for 2026, after 5 years or so after Star was included, things are going to change for the world in terms of Disney Plus and Hulu, as well as Star. So, let's just get into what's going on. On the 6th of August, a report came out that Disney Plus will be officially merging with Hulu in 2026, now that Disney owns Hulu 100% after buying the remaining amount of stock from it from Comcast in the 2024, and then just recently, a few weeks ago, in 2025, due to like some extra stuff Disney has to pay Comcast for, essentially almost paying $9 billion for the ownership of Hulu, which of course now they've done. So with that, now that Disney has Hulu 100% added to their ownership, what's going to happen is that later in 2026, they will release an official streaming app that will combine Disney Plus and Hulu into one service. So, for the longest time, the US kind of had a different track record in terms of adult content compared to international regions, where, like I said, because of Star, of that back and forth between the remaining amount of stock of Hulu between Disney and Universal, Disney couldn't really do anything with adult content in the US compared to international regions where that was not an issue for them. They can use international brands to do the job for them. But eventually, over time, like I said, Disney bought the rights, remaining amount of stock from Comcast, and now they can do whatever they want with it. And we kind of seen Disney, tease like a little ways, like they tried doing other ways around to get adult content onto Disney Plus in the US by adding the Netflix Marvel shows onto the server when Netflix lost the rights to those, as well as some of the adult Fox Marvel films like Deadpool and Wolverine back then onto Disney Plus. But it wasn't until like late 2023 where we got something going on where Disney launched a beta period where people could watch stuff on Hulu on Disney Plus. But again, it was a beta, not every single thing was on there. But eventually, in 2024, they announced the Hulu on Disney Plus option, allowing people to watch stuff on Hulu, stuff on Disney Plus, including all the non-Disney stuff over the years that was added onto Hulu. And this has done well enough that now the international regions actually kind of get less compared to the US now, especially since later in the end of 2024 they introduced ESPN on Disney Plus, now giving 7 core brands for Disney Plus. But essentially for Hulu, it gave now people a reason to pick and choose. You know, you had like 3 options. You can either do the Disney bundle that puts the Disney Plus and Hulu stuff together, or you can do it individually. You can either pick between just watching Disney Plus on its own, or you can watch Hulu on its own. It wasn't 100% merging the two together. It was an add-on, basically, that you can add the Hulu stuff onto Disney Plus. However, things are going to change now because of this. Because of this new combined streaming offering between Disney Plus and Hulu, the Hulu app is essentially going to be closed down in 2026. Like late 2026, as Bob Iger said. However, this doesn't entirely mean, I don't know, this is going to be a weird one to figure out because technically, in their words, people are still able to get a Hulu subscription as well as a Disney Plus subscription. It's just that the Hulu app is going to shut down in 2026. But I don't know how that will work. I don't know. We gotta find out later how that's going to work. But essentially, for the US, now, in later during now 2026, they're going to release one full app that will combine Disney Plus and Hulu together. And with Hulu itself as an individual service, kind of being pulled. I don't know. Again, we'll have to wait until later to find out what that means. But at least with the US, that's their plan now. As well, they're going to launch ESPN Plus as its own streaming service as well. So Disney technically only has about 2 streaming services left to manage compared to how many they had now with both Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. Yeah, that's the thing. As someone who lives in Ireland, I don't know how that works exactly for the US audience and how that's going to affect them, but that's just their plan at the moment. But there's more to this than just the US. I talked about Star and how that became the general general content brand for Disney Plus internationally. How Disney Plus was really pushing it back in 2021 with new shows, new movies, stuff dropping out almost every week. They kind of toned down the branding a little bit. Well, just the marketing on the brand. Like, I think there was some people that got confused that was it an individual streaming service like Hulu was, or was it a part of Disney Plus? So I think Disney kind of toned that down to go, okay, it's just Star on Disney. You know, it's just another brand we have on Disney Plus. You know, now we can put adult content there, and that was it. Of course, over the years, we've seen the evolution of Star just being treated like a brand, not really given that much attention unless a new major show or movie was coming out for the server. However, while Hulu is now 100% under Disney's control, Star isn't, however. Essentially, Star was owned by an Indian studio for decades ago until 20th Century Fox owned it for another couple of decades. But as soon as, of course, Disney bought 20th Century Fox, it became a part of Disney's India control. And for about those 5 years, from 2019 all the way to 2024, Disney, of course, like I said, used it to help bring an international brand for the adult content for Disney Plus, everywhere else in the world. Some regions have it different, like India had, Disney Plus Hotstar, basically. While everywhere else just had its Star, regular. I've talked about Star enough times in the past, given, a few of my videos back in 2020 and 2021 go deeper about Star and what was it about and what did become out of it. But since of 2024, things have changed where now Disney doesn't 100% own this studio anymore. It's kind of like a split thing where Disney was losing more money in India that they decided to sell it to two particular companies. I think it was one called Wellic Entertainment or something, Industries or something like that. And then another one was Viacom 18. So it's like a 3-point studio business now between these three companies. But essentially, what's more important is that Star is no longer owned by Disney anymore. So I think eventually, Star was going to get phased out eventually because that's the plan now. Later this fall, that we're going to see Disney Plus eventually rebrand Star into Hulu for international regions. Of course, given that it's August right now, we don't know when exactly that will be, but given how, in comparison to the combined Disney Plus and Hulu app in the US, where that is in next year, this won't take too long because it's still in this fall. So, if not August, we're definitely going to be hearing something about it in September or October at least. Probably because, simply put, all really Disney has to do is just essentially just do marketing that just rebrands Star into Hulu. That's all they really need to do. Replace that darkish, gray blue color of Star with the icon with the black and green of Hulu, and that's all they really gotta do. They just gotta have to go back and redo Disney Plus to just mention more Hulu stuff instead of Star, including add all the logos for Hulu originals across all the shows and movies that, of course, are exclusive to Disney Plus now. And that's really what they gotta do. They just really gotta focus on the marketing so they can tell international audiences this is their plan. Yeah. It's kind of weird to think that the era of Star is coming to an end now for international regions because we kind of seen the move coming. I think Canada was the first region out there to make this shift, where they did decide to focus on Hulu being the adult brand than Star. And I think that did well for Canada. So it was no surprise that eventually down the line, when Disney 100% owned Hulu, that they can finally make that shift to saying, okay, now we can bring Hulu into international regions now after, essentially 6 years of figuring out the stakes and the sales of it from between Warner Brothers and Universal, with Universal taking the longest time to get there because at least Warner Brothers was quick. Warner Brothers owned like 10% of Hulu, and they essentially just went, "Here, Disney, you guys can have it. We're just going to go." So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's a weird idea, especially as someone who talked about Star a lot back then, or at least when I used to talk about a lot of the Disney Plus content back then, my early days of the channel, if you really count like nearly 3 years ago as early at this point, but I don't know, it's a weird thing again because essentially it is just a rebrand for me. It's just a rebrand where we're replacing all the Star imagery with the Hulu imagery instead, and I'd say at least for Hulu, the only little changes, again, that we're going to get is, of course, just, besides the rebranding, again, all the original stuff that we got with Star will just say the Hulu brand instead, like American Horror Stories, the Hulu revivals, Futurama, King of the Hill, all that stuff will just get the rebranding of Hulu. And speaking of that, with Futurama, it will actually finally make all these Hulu jokes that some of these shows and movies do have make sense, because that was always the one odd thing with Star, when you had like Family Guy or Futurama or even The Simpsons take the piss out of Hulu, and I think a lot of the international audiences wouldn't have figured out what a Hulu is exactly, because we focus more on the Star branding more so than anything else. But now that we finally get Hulu, all these jokes will make sense, mainly on the Futurama and Family Guy side of things. With The Simpsons, I think they only made fun of Hulu once with the Past and the Furious episode, where it begins with a Hulu parody streaming service to set up the episode's non-canon state of the episode. Like that was it, really. Now the only other thing people are probably thinking is that, for at least the international regions, if they're going to rebrand things to Hulu, will any of the shows Hulu owns in the US get to be brought over to the international regions now because of the rebranding? I want to say that won't really change much for the non-Disney Plus, Disney-owned shows and movies. Stuff like I forgot what the title of the show, Mail? I don't know, I kind of forget. It's one of the Hulu shows, The Helltale Maid. I might pronounce that name wrong. That was a Hulu original in the US, but internationally, it has went to, I think, Channel 4, I think. The Animaniacs revival as well, that was also made by, well, at least it was released on Hulu, but it was still worked by Warner Brothers. That's probably gone to other places too. The new Gumball revival in particular, that's the newest thing that Hulu and Disney Plus have in the US. That's coming out on Cartoon Network later in October, I think, internationally. So it shows that the non-Disney owned shows and movies deals still won't carry true to international regions. It's just essentially just a rebranding between Star to Hulu, essentially for the US, for international regions. So that's the only real change. That does make me interested to see how that, like I said, that will work out in the US, where you do have a lot of the non-Disney stuff that was made exclusively for Hulu, but now they gotta reshift it to being exclusively on Disney Plus now. Like the Hellraiser 2022 movie wasn't really Disney's movie either. Like I said, the Animaniacs, the Tale, I don't know, again, I may pronounce that show's names wrong. There's still countless shows and movies that have been made by Warner Brothers, Paramount, Universal, Sony, Lionsgate, A24, all these different companies that made stuff exclusively for Hulu that's now going to shift to being a Disney Plus original or exclusive. I don't know, that's something the US will have to figure out later, and I'm just only making this quick little video just to kind of do this little cap off to the Star era of Disney Plus, while Star is still around at the moment, for me. I don't know if I'll probably do a quick Hulu coverage, because it'll be fun just to see, will there be any real difference for international regions for Hulu? I don't know. I'll figure it out. It's one of those things, like, there's almost cases like this where I was debating on it, because I don't really I've stopped doing the Disney Plus videos after a while, because it was just similar to other things in the channel. It's just lost interest eventually down the line. But I figured for this occasion, because of how, again, I know it's weird to say because it's still not too big, but I feel like because my video on Star got some decent attention, and I did have fun talking about what could have happened for these regions, that they got something that the US didn't get. It was fun to talk about it, just to see, obviously what could have come from it. So, and the decent amount of attention the videos did get from it, even though it's still, like, small in comparison to some other Disney Plus news coverage YouTube channels, like, What's on Disney Plus, or Disney, I don't know, there was some other Disney Plus channel, not that isn't from Disney themselves, that covered a lot of the Star stuff as well. They got more views than mine. That's not what I'm saying, but it was just, for my channel, it was fun to see that getting some decent amount of attention, and having people ask, what, would this show come to Disney Plus now? Would this movie come out now? And again, it's just fun to talk about it. And I felt like it was important to make this video just to have a little cap off, like a little finale feeling to Star that I remember the days from 2021 up to 2025 that for almost 5 years that Star had a big impact for Disney Plus internationally because it really did help the streaming service grew out of just being a kids only app to now being something that the general audience can watch as well that they don't have kids. Like you can watch Family Guy, you can watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia, you can watch Grey's Anatomy, you can watch Desperate Housewives, and you can watch all this different stuff that caters to a different audience. Um, and again, that's for Disney Plus. That's kind of why I talked about Disney Plus as much as I did because it felt so different to see the Disney brand branch out in a way it never did beforehand for the previous 100 years. That now we can see Disney be more open about certain franchises they own now. Like they can make, we had the Predator film, we had Prey, an original Predator film exclusively on Disney streaming services. We got now it's the animated film of The Killer of Killers. That being only on Disney Plus and Hulu now. It's an odd thing to think that Disney Plus has two Predator films that you'll never see in theaters, while we have Badlands coming out in theaters later this November. As well, we got like the Aliens TV show coming out in about a few days at the time I record this. We just got, the King the Hill revival as well on the Disney Plus and Hulu. And that show, it's still weird. Like, it's weird because for the longest time for these what's coming of Disney Plus videos, I've talked about all the adult Fox animated shows beyond The Simpsons. I talk about Family Guy, Futurama, Bob's Burgers, American Dad, Solar Opposites, even the ones that didn't get much more seasons or later was removed, like Koala Man, Little Demon. It was still fun to talk about it, but it felt so odd to not say King of the Hill was there because it only took them about 4 years to finally add that show here for UK and Ireland, just before the new season drops, where we get to see the grown up and older version of the characters after 13 seasons. It was fun to think of what Disney did have beyond Mickey Mouse, Buzz Lightyear, Darth Vader, Iron Man, and all the National Geographic stuff. It was fun to talk about that stuff. At least back then. When there was more details about it, because Disney has kind of been less revealing of stuff that's coming out, which is understandable. They got to keep some stuff as a surprise for some people. But, again, I'm just kind of rambling. Like, this whole video is just me rambling for, like, I'll probably say 20 minutes or so. I don't know. I just want to make a quick video. Plus, it has been a while since I've been making videos. I met the movies of 2024. Took a little bit of a long time, and I just took a little break. And plus, I'm doing the films of 2025 with watching over like 100-something movies on streaming now. So it's just going to take a little time for me to make content again. But I'm doing some stuff here and there to still add some life in the channel. And like say we'll turn back to the Nickelodeon All-Star Bowl 2 videos soon enough. Like I haven't done those in like almost a year, I think, with the last campaign interactions video. But I'll get back to that eventually and do one big video related to that. But yeah, again, just like I said before, this was just made as a quick little goodbye to Star, as it is before rebrand into Hulu. And if anything major comes up with the US side of things on how Hulu is going to be treated now that it's technically being removed, but you can still buy a separate subscription for Hulu on its own without Disney. I don't know. It's a weird thing to figure out. But if more details about that comes out and it's very interesting to talk about, I'll make a video about it. So, again, just a little thank you to Star for improving Disney Plus a little bit after years, at least a year where people kind of threw it off as just being for kids only. And now that you can have a general audience go into Disney Plus and say, okay, I have all these shows and movies that are more towards an adult demographic, that helps the streaming service have some more value. On top of just still having the kids friendly stuff in there too. So, again, I will thank you to Star for helping Disney Plus, and we'll see how things go with the Hulu rebranding in a couple of months or so, wherever they decide to make that happen. So, again, until then, I'll see you all later. Peace, I guess.